Hi, my name is Nicole Bovell and I'm an attorney, and I'm starting a new series on YouTube called Legal Banter and Answers Series. On this series, I will talk about the legal issues surrounding celebrity gossip, famous lawsuits, and other publicized issues. Additionally, on this channel, I will be talking about legal trends and the laws applicable to publicized mess. In this particular video, I will be focusing and honing in on the Britney Spears situation and the legal of conservatorship. I was deeply troubled and concerned and worried about Britney Spears. So, okay, let's go ahead and break down this mess. At first, I became concerned about Britney Spears after hearing media reports, reading materials online, and watching other fans' videos on the subject matter. Because I feel like we've grown up together, even though I don't know her. We don't want to ever hear of an icon being taken advantage of, deteriorating at the age of 37. We would like to keep the notion in our minds that they are doing well. Later on, these concerns drove me to go online and dig up cases and do some form of due diligence on the matter. Then I decided to produce a video for the first time ever to talk about the law. Well, in this case, specifically, the law involving conservatorships. In the last week and a half, there has been a Free Britney movement on social media that spilled onto major talk shows and networks. On TMZ, it was reported that Britney Spears checked herself into a mental facility because her father was sick and it had taken a toll on the singer. So in case you've been under a rock, I will brief you on what has been going down and give you the rundown that led people to fear a ShadyBoots.com situation was going down with the singer. So let's get into this timeline. On April 3rd, 2019, TMZ and Variety report that Britney checked herself into the hospital amid her father's health conditions. It had taken a toll on the singer. This is after the cancellation of her Vegas residency in January. April 16, 2019, the Britney Spears fan podcast called Britney Graham had an emergency podcast playing a troubling voicemail detailing possible issues within the singer's unhappiness with the conservatorship, alleging greed and other things. The person behind the voicemail claims to be a former employee of a law firm handling the star's matters. This troubles fans, and including me, because it sounds as though Britney was forced to check herself into the hospital. Listen to this voicemail.
We're going through our voicemails, and we got this voicemail, and I feel like we should just play it, and then we'll discuss. Yeah, here we go.
Hi there. I cannot disclose who I am. I just heard the latest episode. You guys are onto something. I used to be a paralegal for an attorney that worked with Britney's conservatorship. I'm no longer with them. And what is happening is disturbing, to say the least. So, basically, Britney was in rehearsals for domination. It came to Jamie Spears, that Britney was not taking her medication as prescribed. She was missing a lot of doses and just full on not taking them. So they got her to the doctor. The doctor said, okay, if you don't want these medications, let's get you on a new one. Well, she refused to take the new one. So Jamie said, either you take this medication or the show's off, and I'm pulling my support and you can't do it. Britney did not follow Jamie's instructions, and so he was true to his word. He pulled the show. He verbatim said, blame it on my illness. And that's when we get the early January Instagram. Fast forward a couple days, Britney's still not following through with her medication. And as you guys have mentioned, she is seen with Sam driving. A big no-no on, it's a big rule that she broke. Britney has been in the mental facility since mid-January. Of course, the statement yesterday said she entered last week. That is not true. She's been in there since mid-January. And there is no timeline. Granted, I haven't worked at the company or at the firm for about a little over 2 weeks now, but there is no end particularly in sight for this stay at this mental facility to end. She did not want to go. She, I of course, I'm just a paralegal. I haven't had any contact with her, but from what I understand, this was not a decision she made at all.
And that's where it cuts off. Oh my God, I mean...
So, after this scary voicemail, one of the media outlets report that Britney fans are becoming increasingly more agitated and worried because Britney Spears' mother, Lynn Spears, is posting a cryptic message on Instagram of when God's warriors go down on their knees, the battle is not over, just begun. Then Lynn goes on to like comments of fans hoping that Britney isn't being held against her will. This occurs after Britney was checked into the mental facility. As a result, in between April 16th to the 17th of 2019, the FreeBritney movement was birthed and went viral under the belief that Britney was being held against her will at a mental facility and was there for an extended period other than what was reported in media outlets. On April 22nd, 2019, things come to a head. The FreeBritney movement protests occur outside of the West Hollywood City Hall, asking for the release of the pop star from the mental facility. Fans believe that Britney is being held against her will. Have growing fears over Britney's welfare based on the following allegations and at this point in the timeline, which are: 1, she stopped taking her medications and it resulted in her father allegedly forcing her to cancel her Vegas residency indefinitely. 2nd, she checked in allegedly in a mental facility earlier than announced in media outlets. She's been there since January 2019. 3rd, the troubling voicemail from this supposed ex-worker who allegedly worked on her conservatorship case. 4th, Britney's court filings against the conservatorship. The conservatorship started in 2009 and the last filing by Britney was in 2012, and she has an upcoming hearing on August the 15th, 2019. And last but not least, Britney has done well since her so-called meltdown. She's 37 and has been working on the given information. Are fans' fears so far-fetched and imaginary? Not really. Over the years, sporadically, different media outlets have covered Britney's conservatorship, with articles seemingly pointing at its restrictiveness, questioning the need for it, and the lapse in time since she's had her meltdown. Some of these articles are from reputable sources, such as on May 4, 2016, the New York Times published an article by Serge F. Kowalski and Joe Coscarelli named "Is Britney Spears Ready to Stand on Her Own?" On February 14, 2018, US Weekly published an article named "Britney Spears is in a much better place 10 years after breakdown. On March 20, 2019, narrative doesn't change too much. Forbes published an article named "Will Britney Spears' Conservator Let Her Get Married?" There are so many conservatorship nightmare stories, so Britney's fans' fears weren't crazy and outrageous. The American Bar Association released an article named "Financial Exploitation by Conservators," a series of 8 background briefs. It mentioned the fact that there were great conservators, but there were many who were unaccounted for that did not get reported. It asked some key open questions and mentioned the need for more legislation in that area. Let's watch 2 conservatorship nightmare clips that involve greed and misjudgment.
Good morning, Chairman Carver Hall and members of the board. My name is Adam Walters. I'm representing my father, John Walters. He's been under a public guardian conservatorship for the last 6 years. I was up in Washington State for 10 years, and about 6 years ago, he got taken under the public guardian's wing. I talked to my dad, and he was willing to go up and live with me at my house in Washington State, and the public guardian wouldn't allow that. I came down here many times from Washington State. I talked with the public guardian's office, and I couldn't get anything done. They wouldn't allow me conservatorship of my own dad. And I talked to attorneys, and I talked to several attorneys to try to get this taken care of so I could have my dad back. They've had him so drugged up the last 6 years that I haven't been able to talk to him, and that hurts. He's at his last stages of Parkinson's, is what I understand right now. He's over at the abiding care on Modoc, where they've overdrugged him. Every time I went there, he never could talk to me. He drooled out of his mouth. It was the most horrible thing you could see. It's my understanding the public guardian spent $500,000 of his money and recently sold his house, and that was my grandmother's house. It was our family legacy. And I want conservatorship of my dad. I want my dad back from the county of Santa Barbara. I don't know what else to say. I've dealt with Stacy Wright many times, and I'm fed up. I want something done, and I understand that she did quit the public guardian. I think if everybody looks, and if it were their parent, this has crushed me for about 6 years, even though my dad and I were never super close. But he's in a bad way right now, and I just feel like he's been taken advantage of. I've got all this pamphlets on all the medication. If you'd like to see that, please. It's about the overdrugging of our elderly people in these homes. It's crazy. I sat in a 3-hour case at the courthouse watching a lady try to get conservatorship of her boyfriend, and wasted all that money on an attorney, $15,000, $20,000 a waste, and I'm sure the guy knew he couldn't get anywhere with it, but he took the money anyway. This whole thing just seems like a big money factor to me, but I want my dad back, and I want him off these drugs. I know that he can be a little bit stronger than what he is if he is off these drugs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What was your name, sir?
My name's Adam Walters.
Mr. Walters,
My dad is John Walters.
counsel's here, but if he could correct me if I have a different understanding, but it's my understanding that the courts are the ones that play a role in the conservatorship, and we, the county board of, just bear with me, board of supervisors, we really don't have a role other than the staffing that supports that function. So, counsel, could you help me with this? Is this something that is my understanding correct, or am I wrong?
Yes, there is a judicial process that must be followed before the establishment of a conservatorship, and I believe there are periodic reviews of that status as well.
So my point is that that's a separate branch of government that we have no control over, that dictates how these conservatorships come about. So
But it's
I certainly
the
understand
public guardian is the county of Santa Barbara, and they're the ones saying it's going to be my dad's money that fights against me if I take him to court.
Thank you very much. I want to direct you to the courts. That's the best way.
I would just like to give it to you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
My name is Flora West, and I read the article about Patricia Rosen in the Independent. As I'm in a similar situation with conservatives who are in control of my money, property, my Social Security, and my mail. When I left town to visit my granddaughter, they rented my residence to a stranger and gave her a year's lease. So when I came home, I had no place to live. They suggested I moved into the Villa Santa Barbara. I didn't want to leave my residence, but I had no choice. The conservators claim my younger daughter took money from me, but the conservators have taken hundreds of thousands of dollars from me to pay themselves large amounts of money. I understand my conservator makes at least $140 an hour and the attorney over $400 an hour. They gave me an allowance of $400 a month. I fear that if I stay in the conservatorship, my money will be gone. I used to help my children, but no more. I used to have 3 houses, but they sold one to pay their salaries, and now they want to sell another one to pay for their large fees. When I brought up my distress in court, the conservator's attorney said I was obsessing about money. They claimed they were taking good care of me. I believe these are the same people mentioned in the Patricia Rose who took hundreds of thousands of her money and claimed she had dementia. They kept her under conservatorship when they should have let her free. She is an inspiration to us all. The public guardian's office respected her and saw her as competent. They set her free. I want to be under these people instead of the people I'm under now. Elders need protection from people like them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Pat Love, to be followed by Brooke Robbins, is our final speaker. Yes. Pat Love and then Brooke Robbins.
Thanks for this opportunity. I spoke with Flora West, and to me she seems okay and lucid. Having a person on conservatorship is something that should be done with much consideration. There is great temptation for abuse.
Should we be concerned about Britney Spears? We're going to speak about conservatorships, and we will come to a conclusion after we discuss the term and the scope of a conservatorship. What is a conservatorship? Well, a conservatorship is a legal concept whereby a person is believed to be unable to care for him or herself, an adult with a relationship to the individual or relative may file a petition with a probate court for control over his or her affairs. This is also applicable to minors. The conservator is the person who is looking after the incapacitated person. This doesn't have to be a relative. It can be a parent, friend, spouse, or adult child who cannot provide for his or her needs, but you are willing to take care of his or her well-being and also safety. The conservatee is the person whom is being looked after. So please remember these terms as we continue to delve into a conservatorship. There are generally 2 types of conservatorships: the general and limited. A general conservatorship is designed for individuals who cannot care for themselves or other affairs. They may be older or younger individuals who become seriously impaired. A limited conservatorship is designed for individuals who cannot handle their own finances and other personal matters due to a developmental disability that begun before the age of 18. They have less authority than the general conservator. Sometimes in extensive cases, the judge will assign a general conservatorship. Those with handicap conditions are excluded from this conservatorship. But the types of conservatorships vary from state to state. For instance, in California, there are 3 types of conservatorships listed on the books. I will not, for the sake of this video, go over all the types of conservatorships available from state to state. In this particular video, we are only going to hone in on general conservatorships. What are the power and responsibilities of a conservator? Well, a conservative person has the care, custody, and control of, and has the charge of the education of the conservatee. The responsibilities differ as to the power given by various courts. The conservator must make the following decisions: living arrangement, daily meals, performing laundry, physical care and hygiene, health and dental care, recreation, transportation, finances, vacations, and clothing. Furthermore, the power and responsibilities of a conservator involve the right to control wages, provision of the needs of the conservatee or their minor children. They are bonded for all estate planning and assets. Finally, they also may have control over whether the conservatee can marry, vote, make medical decisions, depending on the court order. The main advantage of a conservatorship is that the court maintains supervision and control over the conservator. The conservator must provide regular reports to the court on the status of the conservatee. For instance, if a conservator moves the conservatee, then the conservator must report the new residents to the court, family members, and other parties. Thus, for many people who pulled Britney's court records, they found that there were many filings. This is to protect the conservatee's rights. Also, the conservator needs the court's permission to make decisions such as for medical purposes and other things. The court is supposed to deal with mismanagement of funds, but in the previous clips we can see that sometimes these cases slip through the system. The disadvantages of a conservatorship are: 1. The legal process for conservatorships are costly. You have to pay court costs and attorney fees. The guy in the first clip of Conservatorship Nightmares named one of the reasons as to why he didn't pursue a legal means was because it would deplete his father's monies. To properly manage and implement a conservatorship, the conservator may need the aid of an accountant and a lawyer. Second, everything is made public and it can be embarrassing. Third, you have no say in who the court chooses as a conservator. Fourth, family members may not all be on the same page. What are the alternatives to a conservatorship? A conservatorship shouldn't be the first avenue you pursue, but rather the last resort. What can you do to avoid the situation? Prior to a person getting in a position of needing a conservator, you can start to perform some estate planning by 1. Having a durable power of attorney. The power of attorney gives someone the ability to act on your behalf. If you've ever had a relative go to a hospital for surgery, they ask them to list the people that they want to act on his or her behalf, and they call them a power of attorney in case of something unforeseen happening. Next, creating joint banking accounts to have access to the other person's finances. You can also decide to create a power of attorney for finances only. Next, having an advanced medical directive. This specifies the type of medical treatment or life-saving techniques that the person wants if they become critically ill. This must be created while the person is competent. And finally, a revocable living trust. In revocable living trusts, you can put property into a trust. These are beneficial because you save the court costs by having a probate court getting involved in your situation. This document can be revised once you are alive. Plus, you maintain some type of privacy without everything becoming a public record. Let's go through the timeline as of now concerning Britney Spears and examine her conservatorship situation. April 23rd, 2019, Jamie Lynn Spears, Britney's sister, releases a video defending her sister from 10 years ago from a crazy lady and backhands fans with her Instagram captions. On April 24th, 2019, Britney Spears breaks her silence and sends a message that she is fine on Instagram. Then she releases a video showing us that she still has her body and her dance moves. On April 26, 2019, Britney is released from the mental facility after protests, backlash, and the magnifying glasses are all over the place. On May 3rd, 2019, it is reported that Britney is seemingly happy and she visited her kids right after leaving the mental facility. Britney's conservators are her father, Jamie Spears, whom oversees her personal affairs and finances. Up until recently, it also involved her former lawyer, Andrew Wallet, who was a co-conservator of her estate, but petitioned the court to resign immediately in the first quarter of 2019. Should worry about Britney? No. Okay, so let's address first the Andrew Wallet shady character rumors. They are totally false. In November 2018, Andrew Wallet, the former lawyer and co-conservator, asked for a raise of $426,000 and it was granted. But that seems reasonable with the size of managing Britney's estate in 2018. He worked for Britney for 10 years before asking for a raise. If you have an employer who hasn't raised your salary for 10 years, ask yourself, would you stick around? He didn't really get to enjoy his raise because he left at the beginning of 2019. Also, there's speculation that Wallet helped Britney with the rebirth of her career and fortunes after her major meltdown. He further asked the court to leave because he felt that he would do more harm than good. So let's just let these Wallet rumors and speculations rest. Second, we shouldn't worry about Britney because her net worth is $56 million. So there are no worries in terms of her financial well-being. Third, the court is actively involved. There are regular reports and accountings. Britney Spears enjoys certain protections under her conservatorship. First, she is shielded from lawsuits because of her incapacity. In a case named in Reed Justice, a court denied a bank's petition in the conservatorship proceeding for an order directing the conservator to fork over money owed in a judgment against the conservatee. So there are no losses here. Also, it's protected Britney from testifying and being subpoenaed. In 2013, Sam Lutfi, Britney's former manager, launched a nasty lawsuit against her, and it was thrown out. Sam wasn't able to get Britney to testify, and this was due to her conservatorship. He was unable to subpoena her. Now that we've gone through all the details, let's answer some of the questions posed by Britney fans and the general public concerning Britney's conservatorship. Question number 1. Normally, it is for an older person. Under the conservatorship, people lose the right to make the most basic decisions for themselves, such as getting married, spending money, choosing where to live, visiting doctors. Britney is one of these people. No one envisions a 37-year-old needing this type of assistance. Why has her conservatorship lasted so long? Well, Britney has an undisclosed mental illness and other issues. There are conservatorships for adult children. It seems to be pretty legitimate because major and proven outlets such as TMZ and Wendy Williams are verifying that she's mentally not there and needs to be on her meds. It's alleged that she checked into a mental facility because the medical cocktail created by doctors to keep her fine was wearing off, and she needed a new cocktail, as Harvey Levine reports. The second question would be, would she be under a conservatorship if she wasn't so rich and on Forbes' richest list? Yes. On the rule books in California, there is a conservatorship for people who struggle with mental illness, including schizophrenia, suicide, psychosis, or unable to make decisions for themselves. A part of the contract in her Vegas residency required that she be on her conservatorship. So in her particular situation, it makes good business sense. Sure, her father's been managing her whole life, but it seems as he has her best interests at heart. She hasn't lost hair, and nor had any more major meltdowns. He saved her career and prevented anyone from taking advantage of his vulnerable daughter suffering with psychological issues that is unknown to us. Under Britney Spears' management, Britney assets grew to $27.5 million by the end of 2010, according to accounting records filed in the conservatorship. This was approximately a year later after being named as her conservator. By now, this figure has absolutely skyrocketed. So, now that the facts, rumors, and laws have been laid out, it's safe to say that Britney is in good care. Hopefully, Jamie Lynn recovers from his fight for his survival. He's kept Britney in good graces with the public.
Hi guys, just checking in with all of you who are concerned about me. All is well. My family has been going through a lot of stress and anxiety lately, so I just needed time to deal. But don't worry, I'll be back very soon.